Hi there, welcome to the Inner Circle. As you can see, I'm your host Scrivo, and today we're doing a little special video. So, not much has happened in Darkangels world, so I thought I'd do a quick little video about drop pods, because they've just had their new model released. It came out this weekend, so I spent a bit of time having a think about how usable they are, what was the datasheet, what was the problems with it before, what's changed in the datasheet, and then I've made an example list. Caveat here, it may be a list, probably not a great list, but it's an example of how to use a drop pod, at least in a list, in my opinion. Trying to utilise specifically Darkangels units and a Darkangels detachment as well. So, right, let's get to it. Right, so what was it? So the drop pod was a dedicated transport that you had to have stuff in it at the start of the game. Was in Deep Strike. It could come in, bat around your turn 1, 2, or 3. So you could rapid ingress it, but it had to come in your turn 1, was the one kind of cool thing you could do. It had capacity for 10 normal Marines. You couldn't take Jump Pack, Wolfen, Gravis, Centurion, or Terminate stuff in it. So it was very much, it's one of the few times where an old transport wasn't locked into not fitting Tacticus, or specifically locking in just Tacticus. So this is what I'm hoping transports moving forward will be a bit more like. The downside to it, unlike things like the other retro transport that does work with a lot of stuff, the Land Raider has an assault ramp. This guy, in its old form, didn't. So as soon as you dropped a unit down, it was stuck there for that turn. Which, if you're a melee unit, not great. If you're a shooting unit, as long as you've got a good angle, great, cool. It did have a Deathwing launcher or a Stormbolter as kind of a thing, and they were OC2 as well, which I didn't even consider before because they were not on my radar as a thing. I did look at them at the beginning of the edition with Grav Devastators. I then quickly moved on to put them into a Razorback. The Razorback and the Devastators went quite quickly because there was more efficient things. I think at that point I then went straight on to Hellblasters, as we all did, I think. Right, and then, so let's have a look at the glow up. So, it has now changed where it doesn't have the OC, it's lost the guns, it now has combat disembarkation. So you can now come out of a transport from this when it's been set up, so you count as moving when you set up, but you can then still make a charge move. Can't re-embark into it. The big one here is it's now Adeptus Astartes units. It'll fit 12 models. It still has the same kind of lock that you can't have Gravis, Centurion, Jump Pack, Wolfen, Terminator. So you can have Phobos, you can have Tacticus. I'm not sure you'd take Phobos in it, but prove me wrong. It's lost its OC, which I think is a real shame, but there is this one real cool thing I think here, is that on the datasheet they've shown at what point you count as the hull. So eternally, for as long as I've been back in the hobby and there's been drop pods, it was always down to TOs or people running a circuit. Like, so ITC used to have their own rulings on it, UKTC had their own rulings on this. It was like, do the doors or the petals, or whatever you want to call them, did they count as part of the hull? Because obviously setting up models around it was a pain in the backside. You couldn't necessarily put them on the doors, or if you put them on the doors, does that count as part of the hull for the purposes of... It was all just a bit messy. So now we've got this, there's no ambiguity here. That essentially the onion, the kind of the bud in the middle, is the part that's the hull. The flaps and all the new stony bits on the new model don't count for toffee, which I think is really nice and clear. It means that you're literally measuring from that main hull with your 9-inch stick, going, okay, that's how far they need to be back. And then you just shuffle it back a little bit more if you're putting the models out. I think this is great. I like the combat disembarkation because there is some fringe reasons you'd probably want to try it. I won't spoil it yet, but the list does kind of give you a way of making your charge better than a 9-incher. Granted, I still think it's probably going to be, if people are going to use them, it's going to be a shooter unit with a buffing character. So an example we could put in as Darkangels is Azrael with some Stern Guard just to get the angle cut. The downside to that is that for The first turn you wouldn't get the CP of Azrael, but you do get the security, you get the cutting of the angle. You don't have to rely on them getting somewhere that they may not necessarily get there. I still think you probably just would advance them out, and if you're in a detachment like, say, Wrath of the Rock, you just have them advance out and shoot anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But this does give some kind of weight in that you could probably put in melee units. So for us, it's Blade Guard and its companions. They're in 6s, so you could have 2 units of them in there. Obviously not with characters. Or I think what I would explore personally, that you'll see in the list, is a character leading 10 assault intercessors. Because obviously if you position it correctly, you know you're going onto an objective, you're charging stuff, you then go, right, that's my oath target, so then re-rolling to hit, rolling to wound. Spicy. Right, so let's go on to the list. So this is, I don't think it's a great list. It's an example, I think, of how to utilize it as part of a theme, especially when I'm here using the Lion's Blade. Right, so we've got Azrael as our Warlord, leading 10 Stoneguard. This is to give a horrible, we can kill the world shooting unit. I've then gone Asmodai with 10 Assault Intercessors. Obviously, the Sergeant's got a Power Fist. The theory there is he gives a unit 4 rerolls to hit in melee, so they don't need to be charging into an oath target. Theory being is you put them in the drop pod, or if you're really feeling quite defensive, you could do it with Azrael. But this is the spice, is that if you're in Lion's Blade, they drop out 9 away in the drop pod, and then you say, charge one of your 2 Invader ATVs or a unit of Outriders into the target you're going for. They're probably tagging them just to tag them, not because they actually need to. So then what you do is you have your Assault Intercessors go in, and then they blend it. Obviously, there's situations where it's not going to be so great. What I'd probably then do is instead I'd maybe have the Sternguard doing the same approach, where they charge in with a 7-inch charge. It gives you some kind of options there. I don't think it's great. I think it's a way of utilizing the drop pod to be a delivery method. I still think probably something like a Land Raider probably does a similar sort of job whilst hiding behind a ruin, but this is just me trying to theory craft. And then 2 units of Deathwing Knights, because as the Lion's Blade, you're going to want to have some Deathwing, and not just the character units. 2 Invader ATVs and a unit of Outriders. Some IL with a unit of Outriders, because I really like that unit in most attachments, and I think it's really kind of neat that that unit is a Raven Wing unit that's just going to go in and boop something that you can then tag in with some Deathwing Knights. Pretty cool. Ballistic Dreadnought, because you always want to have some good shooting. I think you can get away with just having 1 as long as you got the Stoneguard there. Then unit of Intercessors to stick your home objective, screen out stuff, be useful, action monkeys, 5 scouts, similar sort of thing. Help kind of push your flank forward. And then we've got 2 units of Vanguard veterans with jump packs. I would arm these with the Storm Shields, and for the reason that they will be Deathwing keyword, because they are veterans, so they will be booping around. They'll get nice short charges in theory. They're not very good at chopping stuff, but they are there much as a action monkey. I think this list probably still operates better in Stormlance, but I wanted to try to get the extra 2 inches to the charge. Like making a 7-inch charge from a deep striking kind of drop pod felt like a cool thing to explore. So I'm going to try it. I don't think it's going to be particularly great. I don't think it's something that people will take to events, but I just want to see it. You know, it's like there was in 7th edition, 8th edition even, you saw, and even 6th, I suppose in 9th, we saw some drop pods with Devastators. I want to see it being used, but I want it to be used in a more combat way. We'll see. Let me know what your plans are. If you're going to use a drop pod, how are you experimenting? Is it going to be trying to figure out some new kind of special little trick, or are you just doing what I'm doing, just going, I'm just going to put a cool unit in and see what happens and just throw it into my mates? All right. Until next time, guys, thank you for tuning in. Obviously, if you like the video, please hit like and subscribe. That really helps us do what we do on the channel. You can subscribe. We do have a YouTube membership as well, where we give out, we do exclusive videos just for our YouTube members, and we do stuff on our Discord, like we have something running at the moment called King of the Ping, which is a TTS kind of league where there is different kind of seeds and everyone's kind of fighting against each other, and it's really cool because we're seeing like our little community grow, and it's lovely. And there isn't that many Deathwing Dark Angel friends in there, so let's get more of you in there. And until next time, guys, take care.